You think of horses and you may think instinctively of Tennessee or Kentucky, but South Carolina has weather that's beautiful year-round, which is why a number of famous trainers bring their horses here to train them through the winter months before they participate in Triple Crown type of events. Of course, that plus steeplechases and others make South Carolina's equine industry important to the state's economy. That's right, when the call to the post is sounded, that music typically means money is pouring into the state's economy. South Carolina's equine industry generates millions of dollars for the state's economy in the form of pleasure horses, working horses, steeplechasing, and flat track racing and training. Hope Cooper, executive director of the National Steeplechase Museum in Camden, South Carolina, says horses are one of the three foundations to the area's strong economic base.
As horses, history, and hospitality, that's what we pride ourselves in, and we really nurture all those industries as much as we can.
The equestrian population is prevalent throughout South Carolina, with larger populations in the Aiken and Camden areas. In fact, the area surrounding Camden has more horses per capita than any other county in the state. That's one factor that helped several nonprofit organizations establish equestrian-oriented facilities and services in that area. Another factor is the region's consistent sandy soil, creating an easy footing for horses in training.
The Piedmont of South Carolina, with its wonderful sandy soil, this coastal plain area in particular, we pride ourselves on what's called footing, and that is what's underground for these horses to work on. And whether you are in the woods in Camden, South Carolina, out on the track, or in a show ring, this beautiful sandy, loamy soil is just classic for the exercising of horses.
Kip Elser is a nationally recognized trainer and bloodstock agent who says South Carolina is a great place to train horses.
The climate, which is good, but we have enough of a season that horses go through the real season that they need for their health. Then you have the sandy soil to train over, which is absolutely wonderful and uniform for horses' legs. Then you have the various turf courses and all the space to move around in. If you don't get them ready here, you have no excuses.
Elser, originally from Pennsylvania, says South Carolina's geography and topography allows him the opportunity to take horses from their first days of training all the way to national championships across the country.
They come in here as children starting their first day of kindergarten, and we take them from there through high school and get them ready to go to college and compete in the big world.
Horse training, steeplechase, and flat track racing are among the more recognized equestrian sports in South Carolina. In fact, familiar thoroughbred names like Ruffian, Forgo, and Damascus each trained in South Carolina. The Colonial Cup Steeplechase is one of the last races on the national circuit and is deemed to be the most prestigious, highlighted by the $100,000 Marion DuPont Scott Colonial Cup Trophy. It's a sport that came over from England as settlers engaged their horses on plantations as beasts of burden, and then bred and trained them for speed and endurance as beasts of sport.
The settlers, the early planters with the large farms, always were interested in horses, the breeding of horses and the racing horses. And this is pretty consistent through South Carolina. Camden certainly has been steeped in the racing industry ever since the very early 1900s.
The longtime association between the equestrian community and Camden's Revolutionary War heritage, drawing tourists from around the country, led local horse enthusiasts to build the National Steeplechase Museum in Camden.
We are the only institution in the United States that is dedicated solely to the sport of American steeplechasing.
The newest equestrian facility in the Camden area is the South Carolina Equine Park, which opened in September of 2009. It's a 40-acre center specifically designed for a full range of equestrian activities, breeds, and users, sponsored by the nonprofit South Carolina Equine Promotion Foundation. Hope Cooper is the secretary of the foundation's board of directors.
We partnered with Kershaw County government and the South Carolina electric cooperatives and many, many, many private donors. And we have been able to get a first-class horse facility for showing. We can accommodate any discipline, whether it's Tennessee Walker, breed associations. There's now a Southern Stock Horse show competition. It's very, very popular. Quarter horse, naturally, I think will be our bread and butter. We do accommodate cattle down there. We have places for cattle pens, so we can host all the cutting and rodeo type. We can do reining. We're just very, very all-purpose.
The news of a new equine facility in the area open to all types of equestrian activities is good news to Michael Blewett of Hartsville, South Carolina. Blewett is a divisional National Cutting Horse Association world champion. The Australian-born cowboy has worked and lived in the United States for about 30 years and now runs a cutting horse training facility in South Carolina. Blewett acknowledges the influence and attention English-oriented equestrian events have along the East Coast, and he says he would love to see a more balanced recognition of Western equestrian activities, like cutting horse, something the new equine park may be able to offer.
It doesn't really cater like Texas and Oklahoma and those western states do to the cowboy itself. And that just comes, I believe, from, it's a very entrenched English tradition, because it goes all the way back to the 13 colonies, which kind of sounds ridiculous, but it's very English orientated. Whereas over in, Texas and all the way up through the middle of the country, you got a lot of Spanish influence and cowboys and vaqueros. So those two distinct things are still very prevalent today, and it makes it a little bit tougher for cutting horse business to get promoted because of the dominance of the English, and it's so orientated towards cowboys further west you go. So it's a bit of a problem, but it's a reality. And I'd like to change that by promoting cutting out here.
There's often a misconception about Western horse shows and competitions that the greatest prize is just a blue ribbon. Blewett says the larger shows can compete in prize money with many of the English competitions, and it's big business for local economies.
Is that there's money to be won. It's not a ribbon thing. It's just amazing how much money horses generate on a ripple effect. I mean, because first of all, most places have to hire someone to help them. And my feed bill and my hay bill is high. And from cutting, then you got to have cattle. See, and we keep a truckload, which is between 70 and 80 head there all the time. So we what we call dry lot them, like a feedlot situation. So, it costs, literally thousands of dollars a month to feed just the cattle. So yes, it's very agricultural.
Cutting horses are trained to work cattle. Blewett uses a flag as a training aid.
This device we have in front of me here, we call a flag, and it's a training aid that helps us it doesn't take the place of cattle, but it helps us just teach the horse a pattern of stop, turn, go, stop, turn, go. It just builds a base on them and keeps us tuned up. And most trainers like to work the flag, 30 to 50% of the time. So anyway, this is what we do just to keep them ready. Just whatever this thing does, you just try to teach the horse to move with it. And you're allowed to use your feet. See, I can push her with my spur and I'll get a little check right there. Back her up just a little. Always keep the horse back on their rear end. So you back them up nice and quiet. It just takes a lot of work. It's like anything worth doing, you're going to get as much out of it as you put into it. It's fairly expensive, and it takes a lot of work to get good at it. And the better the horse, the better the cowboy or the cowgirl. So there's an old saying we have in the cutting horse business as trainers, is that good horses make good cowboys.
And just as good horses make good cowboys, it's Hope Cooper's desire that a good equine facility can build stronger bonds among the many facets of the equine industry.
To fortify the fact that I don't care whether it's a backyard 15-year-old horse that your children are showing, or it's a $4 million race course, product, we need to talk together, because the bottom line is we have exactly the same interest at heart. And And it's so important for us to get all the aspects of the horse industry together in South Carolina, and it'll make it a stronger state.